You sit on a throne of lies.
The Gospel of Luke and John.
First we'll make snow angels for 2 hours, and then we'll go ice skating, and then we'll eat a whole roll of Toll House cookie dough as fast as we can, and then, to finish, we'll snuggle.
KCAA, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM, and online at kcaaradio.com. This is the Gospel of Luke and John. My name is Luke King, alongside Father John Reed.
Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Christmas show for our show. Woohoo! And remember, you can follow us on Facebook or Instagram at Luke John Gospel. That's Luke John Gospel. Or go to our website at www.gospeloflukeandjohn.com.
Yes. Also, so we're gonna start off the show by talking about some of our favorite Christmas traditions and favorite Christmas memories. So if you have a really great or unique or fun Christmas tradition or memory, give us a call, 909-792-5222, 909-792-KCAA. Let us know you're listening. Let us know what you do, what you like to do for Christmas.
Yeah, and you can also, when you're online, you can let Tammy know you have a question if you don't want to call in, and she's very good at letting us know. That's our producer, Tammy, alongside our other producer, Gabby, who is the boss of my show.
That's right. And if you want to submit kind of your fun Christmas tradition or something like that, you can do that online as well at the Facebook page or on the Instagram. So, man, it is cold outside.
Yes, it is.
It is cold outside. Yeah, I know you don't like to make small talk about the weather, but it's nice to actually wear long sleeves.
Yeah, it was colder than a bad marriage on Valentine's Day, I'll tell you that much.
And my pants don't fit anymore. They're a little snug. That's why
Little
I'm sitting
too
a little.
much.
That's why I'm sitting a little taller.
A little too much
So
information.
Christmas. One of the questions I get a lot with some of my we talk about my podcast sometimes here on the show, and we do some live Q&As with our audience. And one of the questions I get all the time is, as an atheist, why do you celebrate Christmas?
Yeah, why do you?
And it's a simple answer. I love getting things. I love getting presents. I mean, that's what it is. But I also like giving things. I love this time of year in terms of charity and how any kind of event or anything that we can celebrate that brings people and families together, I think is a beautiful thing, and I think should be celebrated. And it doesn't necessarily just have to be, and we're going to get into this later in the show, about Jesus being the reason for the season. It doesn't have to be that way.
No, but it is helpful to have that as well. I mean, that is where it started. But one of the things that I really miss in California is Christmas caroling and other fun traditions. Now, for years, when the Gallery Theater was open in Ontario, for 4 years running, I was in Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol, which now the Inland Valley Theater Repertoire, I think that's what they call themselves. Sorry, Frank Manano and Hope Kaufman, they direct them. But they're probably doing Christmas Carol right now. And we just did a funeral for a friend of ours who played Ghost of Christmas Past, for years and years, Dwayne Thomas, who was a dear friend. And in my mind, I still see him coming through the stage door saying, "Come to know me better, man." Just a wonderful individual. But I miss hearing people sing Christmas carols. When I was in high school, I was in a choir. We'd go to the mall. We would sing Christmas carols. So
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I mean, out in Michigan, nobody really goes around caroling because all the houses are spread apart too far that if you went caroling, you'd freeze to death if you were walking around. But it is, I never thought of that until right now, that you don't usually hear much caroling or much singing outside. Maybe in Claremont. I don't know if you're out and about in Claremont, like on the market days, like the farmers market. I wonder if they have caroling down there. I wonder if they have caroling down there on Sundays.
I haven't seen it. Wasn't there last Sunday. I wish they would, because that is one of my favorite things, particularly when you have people who are excellent at doing harmony. And I had a couple of high school friends that we would go over to the mall, and we'd have a great time just entertaining people singing Christmas carols.
Have you ever had the hummus guy have you ever had the hummus down there at the Claremont Farmers Market? They don't advertise here. I just started thinking about the hummus guy. There's a guy that sells hummus at the farmers market in Claremont. They're so good. They have like garlic and chives and jalapeno. Anyway, whatever. I just thought anytime I think about the Claremont Farmers Market, I think about the hummus guy. They have good bread too. So, but that's not what we're going to talk about. Maybe that'll be my new Christmas tradition: buying hummus from the hummus guys at the Claremont Farmers Market. Family traditions, Christmas. Do you have any favorite Christmas memories or traditions or anything like that?
I have a memory that is dear to my heart. And I think I shared with you one time. It's one of the reasons I have such a deep love for the organization, the Salvation Army. As you know, I grew up in a very poor family. And this was before I knew it was a good idea to sleep in. So it's like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I hear some movement on the front porch. Our kitchen had its window by the front porch so you could see who's at the front door. And so I'm looking out the window, and I see this guy in a Salvation Army uniform. Someone had told them we had nothing for Christmas. And this man's trying to be as quiet as he could be to sneak toys and food. Nothing was marked Salvation Army. He did not want credit for what he was doing. Got everything on the porch, very quietly went to his car, closed the door as quietly as he could, and drove off. I was 5 years old. To this day, every time I see someone from the Salvation Army, I have such a deep love because they did it because it was the right thing to do, not because they were trying to find advertisement.
When that happened, would you say when that happened to you and you had experienced that at 5 years old, I mean, did that have an impact on you that you think has lasted, even through this? I mean, did that
Yes.
did that have anything to do with you going to the priesthood? And do you think? I don't know.
I don't know if that had to do with me going into the priesthood, but I know it sure gave me a real sense of the importance of charity, because I thought if that felt so good to me to receive that, I wanted to do that for somebody else.
Yeah, I was listening to an interview with Tony Robbins this week, and he talked about one of his passions is feeding people. That's like his thing, and he had a similar experience as a child where somebody came up to his door and didn't knock on the door, but tried to drop food at their doorstep and then scurry away. And he said, if a stranger cares that much about me, I want to care about strangers when I get older. And I think that's
beautiful.
Magical. My favorite Christmas memory is far less touching.
Well, tell me about it.
So there's two in particular that I can think of that are just phenomenal. The first one has to do, oh man, if my parents listen to this, they'll probably kill me, but that's fine. Well, now that makes me think of three. But
For a nominal fee, I can save me a trip.
All the men in the family, they like to go shopping at Victoria's Secret every year. So the men in the family, their shopping path is basically Zales, Victoria's Secret, and Sears. Well, probably not Sears anymore because they're not around. So maybe Home Depot. So they every year Victoria's Secret kind of does this. I don't know if they do it every year, but they had this Santa skirt and Santa hat.
Okay.
So my uncle looks at the guys and says, what we ought to do is buy this for Mom, meaning my grandma, and mark it to Mom from Dad, and he'll think he forgot he bought her something, and he'll say it's his. So that's exactly what they did, and we all knew it was about to happen. So they got it to Mom from Dad, and my aunts they waited. They saved that for the last gift. They came out from under the tree, and they said, "Oh, Mom, we've got one more for you." And she goes, "Oh, who's it from?" And they said, "Oh, it's from Dad." And she goes, "Well, Bob, we weren't going to buy each other anything this year." He says, I know, but I just couldn't resist. So she opens up and so she gets all excited. She sits up, she uses the electronic button in her easy chair to sit her up, because they had those fancy lazy boys where they can just lay back. And she sits up and she gets all excited and Grandpa's smiling, because he thinks, I've got her gift. I don't even remember, but I'll take credit for it. And she opens it up, and the first thing she does, she sees the Santa hat. So she gets the hat out, and she's, oh, this is so cute. She's smiling and moving it around, and she puts it on her head and bobbing her head back and forth and everything. And this was a couple years after she'd gotten out of the nursing home and was kind of on the upswing from cancer. So then she picks up the skirt and she holds it up, and her eyes just get huge, and she, oh my gosh! And Grandpa sat straight up in his easy chair, pulls out his handkerchief, and goes, "Oh boys, look at that, boys!" and starts dabbing his forehead because he starts sweating so bad. And
Wait!
Oh my gosh!
Did he get up without having to use the little button?
Didn't even need to use the button. Didn't even need to use the button. That's how excited he got about the Santa skirt and hat. But that was one of my favorite Christmas memories as a kid. And then the other one, we draw names every year. So everybody
Really?
gets...
We usually write them.
So everybody, we write the names in over Thanksgiving, and then sometimes you get gag gifts along with the gift. So my dad one year got my cousin Kathy a $100 gift card to Pizza Hut. Kathy was a manager at Pizza Hut at the time,
nice.
so it was the most thoughtless gift ever. And then he gave her a real one somewhere else, but it was just kind of a gag. But so Kathy got my dad an elf thong. For Christmas one year. It was this green thong thing, and then some elf shoes and an elf hat. So Dad, for the next year, went around taking pictures in that on cars and in front of signs, and then put it in a little photo montage, and then gave that to Kathy the following year. So those are my two favorite Christmas memories, and our some of those Christmas traditions that I just think were absolutely hilarious.
Oh, for any therapists listening, I'll be making an appointment soon.
There was one more, come to think of it, because they love the guys like to go to Victoria's Secret. So one year they had ornaments that had more intimate apparel that you could put in the ornament, and that was placed on our tree. And so rather than having those ornaments in a personal tree that my parents might keep away from the kids,
right.
Those ornaments happened to be on the tree there, and we saw those. So that was great.
Wow. You just explained a whole lot about this show.
I'll tell you. And maybe we'll talk about that stuff at a future show, but I really think, I kind of grew up in an environment where you weren't totally sheltered from stuff like that. So there's a healthy view of sexuality and fun. I mean, come on. How fun is that to pull a big gag on Grandma like that? There were like 60 of us down there for that year because it was a great time.
Well, I don't know if I can say this on the radio or not, but my mother, who had a really warped sense of humor, particularly the more she drank, got for my brother-in-law, my sister's husband, a special item from Spencer's gift for Christmas, and he simply said, "Mom, thanks for the nose warmer, but I don't have a double chin."
Is Spencer Gift still around? Does that exist anymore?
Yeah, but it's mostly online. That was the best place to get a stuff called Morning Breeze. Do you ever have Morning Breeze?
No.
It's liquid sulfur, which smells like somebody
my gosh.
let the whole burrito go at one time.
Oh my gosh.
I've taken out more
store.
Elevators with that than you can shake a stick at.
I remember that store was so fun to go to, though. You could find all kinds of crazy stuff in there.
The posters with black lights.
The posters, and there was some crazy stuff there.
Oh,
but
my goodness.
Christmas traditions. There's a bunch of other fun Christmas traditions around the world, and we'll talk about those after the break. John and I love this time of year because you get to talk about the family stuff and the family things that you do. But one of the things, in telling the story about Grandma, then it makes me sad to think that she's not there anymore.
Right.
And it's one of those things this time of year where holidays bring back such great memories, but they also remind us of loss.
Yes.
And they remind us of just kind of things that you might not experience anymore. And one of the things John and I do, aside from this radio show and other things, is we do priestly and pastoral things.
Yes.
And in doing those priestly and pastoral things, we get to meet some really great people. And one of the great people that John has known for a very long time, and I recently had an opportunity to meet, his name is Jesse Ruiz.
Oh, wonderful man. And
he runs this company called funeral planning, personal funeral planning in Ontario.
Yes.
And they're just Jesse's such a great guy. He served 4 years in the Marine Corps, and really felt this calling in a way to, in his words, minister to people in their most difficult time.
In fact, he's a combat veteran. He was in Desert Storm, if I'm correct.
Yeah. He served in Desert Storm, came back from Desert Storm, and then got into the funeral business, which is a really interesting story, talking to him about how he got into the funeral business and into the embalming business and all that. I mean, he wanted to be a doctor and found his way into the morgue, and now he does funeral stuff for a living.
Well, he really gets under your skin.
But he's one of the things I really appreciated when I was talking to him, and he was talking about why he started personal funeral planning, is that he was tired of working in these big corporations that all they see are people and numbers and money, and they don't actually have any empathy towards the family.
Well, let me tell you something. I've known Jesse for almost 20 years, And when it comes to a man of integrity, he's the poster child for integrity. He doesn't just do funerals. He takes every one of them personally. I've served with him many times on different funerals, and I've always been impressed with how much he cares about each family. And not only does he care about each family, we've had families we served a few years ago that he's still in contact with and will give me updates. Hey, remember this family? This is what's going on and such. And they send him other families because they remember the one thing. You know, they used to say people won't remember what you said to them, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And he always makes them feel cared about because he's authentic. You know, and so I'm very proud to have him as a friend.
One of the things I loved about talking with him was that he was so frustrated when he worked for these big corporate funeral homes because they weren't flexible.
Right.
They were completely inflexible. It was like this is the package, and people don't think about this. And even now, you know, it's funny because people don't think about this until they need to.
Right.
No one wants to think about, you know, personal funeral planning. They don't want to think about what that means and what that looks like going into this, and what, because no one wants to think about what happens if I lose a loved one. So we just pretend like it's not going to happen until it happens. And then all of a sudden, now you have nowhere to go. You have nowhere to turn. And that's the great thing about, you know, this man, Jesse Ruiz from Personal Funeral Planning. There is a place to go. There is someone to turn to. There is someone who's going to be empathetic, who can work with you. He's the decision maker. He owns the place. He can work with people and with what they have and to try to meet their needs. It's a phenomenal, you know, ministry that he has.
And he has a wonderful family. You know, I had the privilege of officiating his wedding. And his wife, Letty, is just the most incredible lady. You're talking about people who are truly classy people. And so that's one of the reasons that, you know, they're people I refer to when people I know are in need of funeral services. I have no qualms of saying, you know, call my friend Jesse Ruiz, because he'll take care of your loved one right, because he'll really care about what he's doing.
So that's Jesse Ruiz and personal funeral planning in Ontario. And the website out there is www.4pfp.org. So when we come back from the break, we are going to talk about some fun facts, some history of Christmas, and maybe some crazy other traditions that happen around the world. My name's Luke King. When I left the church, I had no idea where to turn. I had lost my entire worldview. I knew deep down that it was possible to be a secular person and still add value to the lives of others. I just had no idea how to live that way. I read books, I searched for tips and ideas. I wanted to ask for advice, but I didn't even know who to ask. I became frustrated because it seemed like all the resources available were out to prove religion wrong, and that just wasn't my concern. My concern was, how do I live my best life today? Since I couldn't find the guidance I was searching for, I started the Your Atheist Pastor Show to document my journey. I love people. I still want to do good in this world. The only difference is that now I do it without God. I'd love for you to come on this journey with me. Just hop on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, anywhere podcasts can be found, and type in Your Atheist Pastor. That's Your Atheist Pastor. Welcome to church.
Hello there! Are you tired of handcrafted, award-winning beer in a cozy, family-friendly atmosphere? Of course you're not! You're not a dummy! Sanctum Brewing Company is all these things at once. Nestled in beautiful Pomona, California, Sanctum is independently owned and operated, making delectable poetry by the pint for your enjoyment, bringing you a family-friendly, dog-friendly atmosphere. Enjoy the wonderful views at Sanctum Brewing Company, including warehouses, mountains, and train tracks. Also, we have a pallet wood wall. Yes, we were doing it before it was cool. We're not that hard to find on Google Maps, or Apple Maps, or MapQuest. Yes, it's still a thing. Sanctum Brewing Company, home to the world's largest selection of 2x4 furniture.
It's a marshmallow world in the winter, when the snow comes to cover the ground. It's the time for play, it's a whipped cream day. I wait for it the whole year round. Those are marshmallow clouds being friendly in the arms of the
KCAA 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, 106.5 FM online, kcaaradio.com. This is the Gospel of Luke and John. I'm Luke King, your atheist pastor, alongside everyone's favorite Orthodox priest, Father John Reed.
Feliz Navidad.
For some reason, I always want to say your name like really low and epically. I don't know why. I just do.
Well, could you do it with an Irish brogue, me lad?
You know, I could do an Irish accent every now and then. It comes and then it turns British somewhere through the thing. So I usually stop once I start. Christmas, the war on Christmas. It's happening. It's happening right in front of our eyes, right?
Well, actually, no. But, you know, the first war on Christmas happened in the 1500s. But it was really a war against all of religion with Henry VIII. You know, you see this tradition of people putting candles in the window. Have you ever wondered where that came from?
I have. Well,
I'm glad you wondered because I happened to look that up.
I wonder about a lot of things, but
that's right.
But that's one of them.
You're the wanderer. Yes. Well, the practice actually took place with the suppression of what they called, well, it's called the suppression of monasteries. Henry VIII made it illegal to practice religion, particularly Catholicism. And he closed down churches. If you got caught with any of the paraphernalia, as we say today, you could go to prison. So what the priests were doing is they would hide in the woods, in the forests. And at night, particularly at Christmas time, when somebody wanted a priest to come and celebrate the Mass in their home, they would light a candle, put it in the window, and leave the front door unlocked in the hopes that a priest at night will be passing by, see the candle, come and celebrate with them. And the priests would go from house to house at night doing this, particularly on Christmas Eve.
I mean, and can we just say that like the war on Christmas is kind of ludicrous, right?
It
I mean,
is
the fact that there's this war on Christmas. I mean, basically what it is that Christmas for the longest time was celebrated by everyone in every context, everywhere, because the United States is very largely populated by Protestants and Catholics. It's largely populated by Christians. Well, now there are less Christians around, and there are more folks of other faiths. And the United States is not a Christian nation. We do not have a statement of faith in the Constitution.
Thank God.
And therefore, you do not have the right to have your religious paraphernalia placed all over public buildings.
Right, and more than that, you know, this hogwash, as I like to refer to it in holy terms, about this war on Christmas, really what it's been, and I'm really sad because it's people of the faith the tradition that I love so much, Christianity, who are really attacking other religions and saying, you have to accept my religion, but I won't accept yours. When we say happy holidays, what do we have going on? We have Hanukkah, we have Kwanzaa, we have Christmas, we have different religions, and that's just a few of them.
Oh yeah, there's the winter solstice that people celebrate. There's some pagan traditions, Yule. I mean, there's all kinds of things going on out there.
And so the idea that we have to make other people say Merry Christmas. Look, I have no problem people saying Merry Christmas. I say it to people all the time.
No, I don't
but
care.
I have friends of all faiths, and I wish them happy holidays. They wish me happy holidays. It's a time to be nice. I get really irritated with this twerp, as I like, Reverend Twerp, who goes into Starbucks, and you know who the guy is. And I'm sorry I don't name you. Do
I can't? Yeah, it's I can't remember how you pronounce it. I think it's Anyway, I don't want to get sued or whatever or defame him by. So we'll just say he's a twerp.
He's a twerp, Reverend Twerp, and he goes into Starbucks.
Last name rhymes with Frankenstein.
Thank you, because it really is a monster thing he does. So he puts on the cup his name to be Merry Christmas, so they have to say Merry Christmas. You know, if you have to tell me you're a Christian, there's something wrong.
But you're just being an a-hole when you do that. Like, I mean, that's really what you're doing, is you're just walking around, like, being a jerk. I mean, what if I walked in and wrote, like, Happy Yule or something like that, or, Happy Hanukkah or something? I mean, he would probably complain because then Starbucks was promoting some other religion and not his own.
Well, it's like this guy, and it might be the same guy, and I'm not sure, because we were talking earlier, and I'm an old man now. You have a much better memory than I do. I'm lucky if I remember what I have for breakfast. But he shows up at these shopping malls, and he screams at these children that Santa's not real, which I'll prove to you tonight that Santa is real.
That's right. That's right.
And that Jesus is the reason
dead,
for the
but real.
season. Right, dead but real. He's real dead. And, But he's ruining this wonderful thing for the children so he can feel good about himself like he did something. He walks up, he says, I'm Pastor so-and-so. And, you know, he did this in Texas. And the people down there physically threw him out.
Might shoot him.
Yeah.
Did you know that for some people, they celebrate Christmas on January 6th? Did you know that?
Being Eastern Orthodox, I just happen to know
Oh,
that.
all right. Well, anyway. But what's that all about? I didn't know that.
Well,
I was educated as a pastor, and I was researching for this show today, and I was like, oh my gosh.
2 different calendars.
January 6th.
The Julian calendar and the original calendar. And so that's really when we thought that Jesus might have been born. To be honest with you, we don't have an exact date for the birth of Jesus. Some say it was in the springtime. Some people say it was closer to January 6th. But in the Orthodox, that's when we celebrate. I remember when we went Western Rite in the part of the Orthodox Church I started in. And so for a while we adjusted to the Western calendar, the reason we did that was it looked like we were going to become one church with Rome again. We became very close. And then the change of popes, Pope John Paul II had it so that he and Bartholomew, who's our ecumenical patriarch, has signed an accord. So I had to celebrate Christmas twice, one on December 25th and one on January 6th.
So did you just celebrate the 12 days of Christmas, the 25th to the 6th?
No, I couldn't find 5 golden rings.
Oh.
And,
oh, man. You're worth some money.
But when Pope Benedict became the pontiff, he's an academic and not very good with public relations. And he managed to do to the religious world what Trump is doing to the whole world right now. And our accord, just while we still have the accord, the relationship was really in tatters because of the fact that he really insulted everybody. Francis is trying to undo that, and he's doing a wonderful job. He even attended Holy Liturgy with Bartholomew, and they're working on bringing us back together. Which doesn't answer your question one bit, but it was a good...
No, it was great. Yeah, and there was an interesting thing I read about. So I didn't know this because I've always wondered, okay, how do you come up with the 25th? How do you get to December 25th? Like where did that come from? How did you even get close to that? And what was fascinating was reading that. So apparently, based on research that other people did, that I read their research. There's this great book, Christmas in the Crosshairs. It's a long, fairly academic volume that it tells you more than you would ever need or want to know about the history of Christmas. And apparently, in the ancient world, they thought that great men lived complete lives. So if you died on March 25th, you were born on March 25th.
Right.
So because I am a great man, I was born on March 15th, so I'm going to, one day go on March 15th. That's like how it'll be. And they believe that Jesus died on March 25th, according to some of these ancient numbers.
Very good.
So they were like kind of, well, we don't want to celebrate the birth of Jesus on March 25th when we celebrate Easter, the death of Jesus. So maybe March 25th was when Jesus was conceived. So then 9 months later, December 25th, baby JC is born.
But it was also during the time of the Festival of Lights, too, and because Jesus was supposed to be the light into the world, that also fit into it as well.
And also because they thought conceptually the world was created on a springtime, so like March 25th, like the first day of spring, back on that calendar, and Jesus being the light of the world conceived. It was in the book.
No, that's fine. I was just thinking of Mel Brooks and the producers, Springtime for Hitler in Germany was a song. That's all he said.
Well, the other thing that's interesting, too, about some of these, the early Christianity, and, they didn't even want to necessarily celebrate the birth of Jesus because they were so focused on him coming back. So the birth was inconsequential.
It was for many years. In fact, do you know who it was who brought Christmas as a feast? St. Francis of Assisi.
Yes. Also credited with the first nativity scene.
That's true. And he said that we should celebrate so much that even the walls should eat meat on this day.
Bacon.
You always go right
now,
there.
we talked earlier that Santa Claus, though dead, was real.
Yes, and he wasn't white. He was
well.
Turkish. He was actually born in the 3rd century. In fact, he was born in 325 Common Era, and he died on December 6th in 343 Common Era, in a region that is now known as Turkey. But let me tell you something about the history of this guy. He was born into money. His family raised him to be devoutly Christian. And when they died, he followed what Jesus said, and he took this money that he inherited, and it said, sell all your goods and give to the poor. Well, he really did this. And the idea of giving gifts at night really came from him. I was talking to you earlier before the show. There was a man who had 3 daughters who couldn't afford the dowries to have them married, so he was going to sell them into servitude. And Nicholas heard about this. So what he did was he took some money and he went into their house at night and put money there for each of the girls when it was time for them to be married so they wouldn't be sold into servitude. The father of these girls didn't even know who it was until the 3rd one, where he actually saw Nicholas do that. He did this for a lot of the children who had no money. He would go and at Christmas time sneak into their homes and put gifts for them, not wanting to get caught. After his death, there was many miracles associated with him, and that's how he became a saint. So that's your original Santa Claus, and that's the true story of Santa Claus. And so when people get really upset about it, no, I think we should look at what the guy was aiming at, and I think we too should emulate that and see who we can make their Christmas better and not get caught. Just do it for fun and for free and out of love.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. It's beautiful, and it's such this idea that there was this founding moment of Christmas that we we need to go back to the true root of Christmas or the true beginning of Christmas. Like, there really wasn't one.
Right.
There was. Christmas didn't start and we didn't ruin it. Like, Christmas is a conglomeration of is that a word? Conglomeration? Is that even? I think so. Right? Yeah.
We'll make it one
word. Yeah. It's multiple traditions put together has gotten us where we are today with Christmas.
Well, by the way, union rules say I do need to mention that he was a bishop on the eastern side of the church. That's Orthodox, friends.
The eastern, not a Catholic bishop.
We're all Catholic.
Not a Roman Catholic.
Not a Roman bishop.
Not a Roman bishop.
No, he would be with the Greek church. At that time, it's the Greek church. Now it's with Turkey. So. And again, we're having fun with that. So some of you who are taking that really to heart and you're getting really mad, it's not worth it. Just have fun with it.
Another fun fact about Christmas: the Puritans, the early Puritans, those folks who kind of were around America at the beginning, they opposed Christmas because of the festivals and the drinking and the consumerism.
Yes.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. It sounds like what a lot of people are complaining about today in terms of Christmas being, more cultural and drinking and feasting and it's not solemn. And, like, why does everything religious have to be solemn?
Well, why celebrate when you can burn a witch?
Yeah, well, there is that, the... My goodness.
Lord, hear our prayer.
But also, too, I was reading about these early critics, the early pagan critics of Christianity, accused Mary of being a crazy woman who was kicked out of her house by her husband and who was forced to give birth in a stable and live life as a beggar. That's kind of how she was looked at early on.
Well, in certain parts of Judaism, that is true, and they thought that Jesus was a womanizer. Now, from our Christian perspective, that's not how we see it. And while you and I have fun with this stuff, some of the things that drew me to Jesus, why I love Jesus, is because he was for the underdog. And all the people that were considered scandalous, these were the ones he gave hope to. People like me, a street rat that I get emotional when I talk about it, who are not brought into the church by virtue, but by love and grace instead. That's what made Jesus so powerful. That's why I celebrate Christmas so much. because it's more than a religious thing. Remember, religion is a verb. It's an action, not a noun. And this action is supposed to be the manifestation of love. And it doesn't matter what you call yourself. If you are practicing the manifestation of love, the Christ Spirit is present, no matter what you call it.
Speaking of manifesting love, let me tell you about Sanctum Brewing Company. How's that for a pivot?
Wow. Well, it's the spirits.
So
Be jolly.
You know, I mean, Christmas is coming. Like, what is it? When is it? Christmas is Monday, right? Is that when Christmas
Monday.
is? It's Monday. Christmas Eve is Sunday. So Sanctum Brewing Company, Pomona, California, they are just some of the best guys. And we were, Tammy and I were there just this last weekend doing some Christmas shopping for, if hopefully he's not listening right now, for her brother. You know,
At Victoria's Secrets?
At Sanctum. One of the hardest things to do sometimes, and what we like to do, we like to get gifts that are meaningful. We like to get gifts that aren't just kind of the norm of, hey, here's a gift card for some clothes. And what I love about Sanctum is they've got these crowlers that you can fill up with whatever beer you want to choose, and take them home. You let them sit in your fridge and then give them away at Christmas time. They've got shirts, they've got glasses, and Scott actually just texted me not too long ago. One of the owners, Scott, he texted me to let everyone know that there's also bears available. So I don't know if that's true or not, but they do. Don't look at me so crazy. They do have the largest collection of 2x4 furniture over there. But Sanctum Brewing Company in Pomona, California, put it in Google Maps or Apple Maps or something like that to get there, because they are. It's easier to find that way than me telling you how to get there.
Are you going to do a special event there or anything?
I am doing a special event. Thank you for mentioning that, because I wrote it down and totally forgot. On January 7th, I will be there teaching a yoga class. We're calling it Breathe, Bend, and Beer. That's a new thing. That it's not new. People have been doing it for about a year and a half. Doing yoga at these breweries to try to introduce it to a different crowd. So it's $15. Sunday, January 7th at 11:30 is when it will start. So you can arrive at between 11:15 and 11:30 and look really unsure of yourself. And then by the end of it, you will get $15. We'll get you a yoga class and a beer.
Well, I may show up. I don't drink, but I may show up to try the yoga. You never know.
You should. You totally should come.
You know, talking about unique gifts, I don't understand what you got me. A coffee enema? It didn't even come with cream and sugar.
Coffee enemas. We should talk about that one of these days. But hey, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about Christmas and some really fun Christmas traditions around the world.
Hello there. Are you tired of handcrafted, award-winning beer in a cozy, family-friendly atmosphere? Of course you're not. You're not a dummy. Sanctum Brewing Company is all these things at once. Nestled in beautiful Pomona, California, Sanctum is independently owned and operated, making delectable poetry by the pint for your enjoyment, bringing you a family-friendly, dog-friendly atmosphere. Enjoy the wonderful views at Sanctum Brewing Company, including warehouses, mountains, and train tracks. Also, we have a pallet wood wall. Yes, we were doing it before it was cool. We're not that hard to find on Google Maps or Apple Maps or MapQuest. Yes, it's still a thing. Sanctum Brewing Company. There will be snacks.
My name's Luke King. When I left the church, I had no idea where to turn. I had lost my entire worldview. I knew deep down that it was possible to be a secular person and still add value to the lives of others. I just had no idea how to live that way. I read books, I searched for tips and ideas. I wanted to ask for advice, but I didn't even know who to ask. I became frustrated because it seemed like all the resources available were out to prove religion wrong, and that just wasn't my concern. My concern was, how do I live my best life today? Since I couldn't find the guidance I was searching for, I started the Your Atheist Pastor Show to document my journey. I love people. I still want to do good in this world. The only difference is that now I do it without God. I'd love for you to come on this journey with me. Just hop on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, anywhere podcasts can be found, and type in Your Atheist Pastor. That's Your Atheist Pastor. Welcome to church.
Sleigh bells ring, are you listening? In the lane, snow is glistening. A beautiful sight, we're happy tonight, walking in a winter wonderland. Gone away as we go along, walking in a winter wonderland.
KCAA 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM, and online at kcaaradio.com. This is the Gospel of Luke and John. My name is Luke King, alongside Father John Reed.
Hey.
So we were talking about Christmas and some fun Christmas traditions.
Yes.
And one of the great traditions that we were kind of looking around and Tammy and I saw this afternoon. So this place in Sweden, it's called I don't know how you pronounce this. It's the A with the umlaut on it. Is it still called an umlaut when it's over an A, the two dots? I know it is over the U, but I don't know. But anyway, the Galve goat.
In South is umbop.
In Sweden. So since 1966, they would build this 13-meter tall Yule goat, which is
42 feet.
Which is 42.65 feet for those of us Americans.
Thank you, Tammy.
And so they would build this 13-meter tall goat in the center of Galve's Castle Square for Advent. However, alongside building this wooden goat, another tradition has sprouted, and that is people trying to burn down said goat.
Smoking.
So since 1966, the Yule goat has been successfully burned down 29 times.
With people yelling, "Got your goat."
And the most recent destruction was actually last year. So if you want to check this out, you can visit the Galve website, and they actually have a live video stream to see how the goat fares. So it's like Burning Man.
Yeah, I guess it would be.
But it'd be burning goat.
You got to tell them about your favorite, which is the Southern Fried.
Yeah, so in Japan,
Country fried.
My ex-wife is Japanese, so I've been there a few times. But in Japan, they don't really celebrate Christmas that much. It's not a huge holiday, so it's still kind of a novelty if you do celebrate Christmas. But something that has started to take on is this thing called Kentucky Fried Christmas, where people go to Kentucky Fried Chicken and they buy a bunch of KFC and they eat KFC.
That's a foul move.
And so they actually, if you go to KFC Japan's website, KFC Japan is now starting to do these like Christmas feasts where they put together this Christmas Day feast and do that. Back to the goat. I wonder if they try to like hire security for the goat, or if they I wonder how hard they try to keep people from burning it down.
And if you can't get out of there, is it not a scapegoat?
But if you're out there and you're trying to burn down this goat and there's security guards, I mean, do they make it? Do you have to be creative to burn it down? You try to launch flaming arrows at it. Like that's how I would burn the goat down. I would use flaming arrows or a drone. You could do like a drone with
strike.
Like a drone with a gas can and a lighted fuse, and hope for the best on that one, and see if you
Secret Service is probably listening to this program right now and focusing on you.
If you are a Secret Service agent listening to the show right now, 909-792-5222, and let us know how you would burn down the Christmas goat, or it's not a Christmas goat, it's a Yule goat.
Yule goat.
Another one I love, Krampus, or Krampus, or however you want to say it, in Austria. So have you ever heard of Krampus before? Do you know who Krampus is?
I used to get him once a month.
Every 28 days. Krampus. So Krampus is this angry demon-like saint. It's kind of like Saint Nick's evil accomplice.
Wow.
And so there's this. So Krampus is basically Saint Nick brings gifts for the good children, and Krampus though goes into the house and captures the naughtiest children and whisks them away in his sack.
Wow.
Or sometimes. I think that's all he does.
Maybe he wanted a lump of coal that Santa left them.
But you know what they do though? There are parades early on in at the beginning of December where younger men dress up like Krampus and will go around and try to they do Krampus parades.
I wonder if that's where Charles Schulz got the idea for the Grinch that stole Christmas. I wonder if that had anything to do with it.
That's a good question.
Because it certainly sounds like that. But one of the traditions, and I think we've talked about this before. I have a really good friend. He goes by Big E. His name's Eric. And one of his traditions he does is he makes these packages for the homeless, particularly people on Skid Row. And these are his gifts to his family. In their name, he gives these care packages to homeless people. And we are talking earlier, if I may, to segue a little bit, about an old friend of mine, Richard Peak. And Sandra, his wife, if you're listening, Merry Christmas to you. Sandra is still alive and well. Richard died a little while back from cancer, but Richard had a really difficult life, and addiction to drugs and alcohol, did time in prison, had committed murder, but he got his life on the mend, and he got into recovery. And he applied for the job at a Salvation Army Harbor Light in L.A. to be their executive director. And this is a little bit of a story that I didn't tell you about. When he interviewed, they said, Mr. Peak, other people who have applied for this job have master's degrees and doctorates. We don't see any degrees listed on your resume. Do you have an education at all? And he says, yes, I have a PhD in effing up life. I'm cleaning it up. And I found a solution. Well, they hired him. And he became the executive director. And I can remember being there because my brother worked with him at this program. And here it is Christmas Eve. This old thug, this old man who had such a tough life, playing Oh Holy Night on his clarinet with more love than you can ever imagine. And all these guys try and get off Skid Row. Tears coming down their faces, not even trying to hide it. That here's a guy who found the light to get out. And on Christmas Eve, in the Christian faith, our night of light, he's using that light to lead them out into a new life of hope. So that's a tradition I hope I never forget.
Oh, yeah, that's beautiful. And one of my favorite Christmas traditions, when I was growing up in Michigan, every Christmas Eve, they have two services, the United Methodist Church, and I'm sure every church around there has a service, but we went to the United Methodist Church, so they would do a 7 o'clock and an 11 o'clock service. And we always went to the 11 o'clock, and a lot of parents brought their kids to the 11 o'clock service. And now I know why. Because if you want those kids to sleep, you got to keep them up for a while. So we went to the 11 o'clock service, and there were two things I liked about it. Number one, it was more music than anything. The sermons were crazy short. And at the end, we would sing Silent Night.
Right.
And all four verses. Or 4 verses. I don't know how many there are. I think there were like 4 or 6 verses, I think. But we sang a lot of them, and we would light. It was candlelit, so everybody in the sanctuary had a candle, and I was talking to Tammy. I was like, if we go back for Christmas next year, we're totally going to go to this because it doesn't matter that we're both atheists. Like we would still love to go experience it and see it, and so we sing Silent Night. It was an hour, and then when we would leave, they would ring the bell
right
for the town because the church still had a town bell with a rope. When we had a rope in the church that you could ring, and you could ring it at night. And it was a lot of fun. And drive home in the snow and sleep until 2 or 3.
That reminds me of a story of an old friend of mine, God rest his soul, Father Peter Covis, when he was at St. Catherine's in Riverside for midnight mass. Someone had a little Christmas cheer too much. And when they rang the bells to start Mass, he says, if that's my wife, I'm not here. And the whole place lost it. This Christmas, I'm going to, if Gabby says it's okay, which she probably will, I'm probably going to do midnight Mass at St. Paul's in Pomona.
Oh, yeah.
My friend Father Mark does a wonderful midnight Mass. And for some of the same reasons. Look, I'm an old softy. When we sing Silent Night, I let the tears fall. Because this really is a holy time for me. And it's a renewal time. And it's a time that I get to very silently say how much I've enjoyed being a part of this love and just being a vessel to share it with others. My friend Chuck C. used to say that love's a divine paradox. When you go out to get, you come back empty. When you go out to give, you come back overflowing. And so for this Christmas, I wish you, my friend and my brother, and to Tammy and my beautiful wife, Gabby, and our friend Carlos over here, a truly love-filled Christmas. And all of our listeners, we appreciate you. We've been getting more followers on Instagram. And whatever you do this Christmas, I hope you feel the holiness of love, whatever your interpretation of spirit is, and that your life is filled with light and you're able to share it with those around you. And thanks for being part of our family.
Yeah, we thank you. I appreciate that. And we're doing this is my first Christmas with Tammy, so we're really excited about this because we're spending Christmas Eve together with German food. That's the thing. So Tammy's family, they're German, and we're very. My family's very German too, which is kind of cool. And every year they do all kinds of different fun German food, and so we're going to be making that and participating in that and doing some other things. And I'm excited. We're stoked, and we're going to go hang out with the nieces and nephews on Christmas morning and make breakfast for mom and dad. And so it's just going to be a really fun family-filled time for us. 'Cause I can't be home with my family this Christmas, so it'll be fun to be with hers. And
Your new family.
Yeah, we're really excited. We're stoked, and the dog. We're really stoked about that.
Any special recipes, Tammy?
Well, I know there's this like cheesy. You should come over and sit on the microphone. There's this it's like cheesy bratwurst or something like that, right? It's like a cheesy sausage and onions or something like that. So we're excited about that, and there's going to be more cookies than anyone would ever need to eat in a lifetime, I think, for one night. And also there's going to be some blue vine or glühwein, which is some kind of awesome wine mixture that I'm told I won't remember in the morning.
Ooh, my favorite kind.
Because it'll be that great. But we're excited too, and this is our last show before Christmas. So
and you even baked for Gabby and I some special thing. What is that you
Tammy
made for us?
Like a sweet bread, right? It's gingerbread and some kind of cinnamon, almonds, Amish cinnamon bread. So I have my headphones on, so it's hard for me to, I can't hear over there. But no, it's great. You're going to love it. And I ate, she made one for us too, and I think I ate probably like 4 scoops of dough just on my finger because it was so good.
Now, those of you who haven't seen Luke, he's thin as a pole. Me, I'm the roly-poly
All right, but
one,
here's the thing.
And I can't even look at a menu without loosening my belt.
Listen, but here's the thing, though. When Tammy and I met, I was 160 pounds, and that was in April, and now I'm at 180. And the pants are not fitting like they used to. I have to wear the stretchy pants. It was hard to tie my shoes.
Real quickly,
earlier.
our station manager,
Mark Westwood is in the house.
Merry Christmas, Mark.
Mark is never here this late, but he's here. He's here especially tonight with us because he wanted to say Merry Christmas to everybody. So that's what he's saying is Merry Christmas. So thank you all so much for tuning in. We really appreciate you. We appreciate you spending the time with us and carrying us with you. By the way, if you missed the show, now obviously you're not missing it tonight, but if you missed the show, jump onto iTunes, search for the Gospel of Luke and John on KCAA or anywhere podcasts are generally consumed. We're not on SoundCloud and Stitcher yet, but we're on all the Android platforms. We're there. We are on iTunes and one day hopefully iHeartRadio. So.
And for all of you who are listeners of this program, if no one told you they loved you today, know that I do, and we're glad that you're part of this very important growing family.
Oh, my Uncle Dave says that to me sometimes. Every now and then I get a text message from my Uncle Dave. He says, anybody tell you they love you today? I love it. Yeah, it's really cool. So thank you all so much for joining us. We'll see you next week.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
Porky's Pizza in Corona reminds everyone as we gather this holiday season, don't forget the less fortunate children in our area. By dropping off 1 or 2 gifts at our local toy drive, you'll ensure that the holiday will be special for all of our kids.